Is Allie Hyams, and I'm the Senior Manager of Communication at Providence in Eastern Washington. And today I have the honor of interviewing my manager, Beth Hegde.
Hi, I'm Beth Hegde. I'm a Communication Director for Providence NWA.
We're talking about a reported school shooting that ended up being fake, thankfully. It was at Lewis and Clark High School, which is located near Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center in downtown Spokane. Our hospital would be one of the main places victims would go for care, not only because of the proximity, but also because we're a level 2 trauma center. Beth, you and I work in the marketing and communication team, so we're responsible for sharing that information with the caregivers and with the community. Bring me back to December 9th, 2022. It was a typical workday for us, right? What were you doing?
I was actually in a meeting in person downtown, and that was so rare. So I was already feeling a little bit off that day because we had not been meeting in person. So I was with our chief executive, Susan Stacy, and I noticed during our meeting that she kept looking down at her Apple Watch. So I knew something was up. I knew she was getting texted. And so I did pick up my phone and turn it over, which was on silent. I saw a text from the AOC, which is our administrator on call, and it said, reported mass shooting at Lewis and Clark High School, 7 victims on the way to the hospital. And I just stood up and I said, we have to go. There is a reported shooting and the victims will come to Sacred Heart. And so we need to get back there. And as I was picking up my book, I just kind of stopped and looked around and I said, my kids attend that school. My daughter's in that school right now. We were about a 1.5 mile drive to the hospital, super quick. At the same time, my phone was blowing up with a family text. My son Lucas is a sophomore at Lewis and Clark, and my daughter Sarah is a senior. Lucas was sick that day. Lucas was home looking at the news, which was very helpful. And so he was actually our source of information, saying things like, reported shooter in the school. Sarah was reporting that she was up on the 2nd floor, and she told us her classroom number. I later came to find out that that's one of the trainings that they give to these students when there is a shooting, is that you're supposed to let someone know where you are. It's easier to recover bodies that way. So my husband's asking questions. I'm asking questions. Sarah said that she saw students running out and screaming, obviously panicking. And I remember thinking, Sarah is still texting. That's good. She's a very reasonable, mature kid. There's nothing I can do for her right now. What I could do right in that moment was help the hospital. That's when I started texting my list to you guys about what we were going to do.
When we got the news of that, they were clearing out the ED so that they could make room for potential victims to come into care.
I think I split into 2 people at that moment. I really don't remember having fear for Sarah. I remember starting to feel stuff and literally almost reaching my hands out in front of me and pushing it aside. A real big moment for me is we were headed up the hill to go to the hospital, and I was met with a wall of police cars and fire and emergency vehicles, and we couldn't get through. That's the most real it became for me because I was looking at the school. And I knew my girl was in there. And when the school shooting happened about 8 years ago, of course, the victims came to Sacred Heart, and unfortunately, a student died.
This incident that we're talking about was fake, but our community has been deeply affected by a school shooting. How did that past experience help you with this one?
A lot of us on our team, which I'm really thankful for, have had national FEMA training to be advanced public information officers. That training is just invaluable. And so they tell you the first day, and they probably say it 20 times while you're in the week of training. Our job is to give the right information at the right time to the right people so they can make the right decisions. That is what I just kept thinking. I thought about who are our audiences. And our audiences, as you even said, included our caregivers, right down to the valet parkers, because I knew that hundreds of people would be coming to the hospital just to support the people who were shot. I was texting you guys, we need a quiet room for each victim's family, get chaplains there, set up a media area. And then just, we work in a hospital, so we've had a lot of crisis stuff. And I'll tell you, I know now that what we went through for that 2.5 years of pure hell in the hospital with COVID, I know that training was what got me through.
Yeah, those were some difficult days. And we learned a lot. And when you think of healthcare, I don't think you really think of people like me and you, like the communicators. People think of doctors and nurses, but this job is crucial because they need to get their information.
And it was you and me, Allie, writing emails and posts that said, we don't have enough PPE. We're asking you to walk into a room room to care for a person with a virus that we know very little about back in 2020. Oh, and sorry, we don't have enough gloves and masks. Our hospital was a little lucky. We didn't have nurses wearing trash bags, but boy, our system did. I'd never compare myself to a nurse or a doctor who helped. But I really understand what Providence mean when they say that everybody is a caregiver, because we take care of our caregivers. We get them the information they need. I was thinking about those caregivers who might have kids at the school waiting to see who was shot, waiting to see who the victims were. I'm sure they're going to know the kid or the teacher. We were in such a bruised and battered place from COVID that I was just super worried about everybody. Crazy enough, this whole scene was about 11 minutes. Well, all of this stuff, all of these thoughts, all these plans happened in about 11 minutes until I got a text that said, false alarm, not a shooter, it's a prank. When I drove back home that I started really thinking about things, I texted Sarah and said, come home. She pulled up in her little white Jeep and I walked right out to the sidewalk and she came out, she goes, what are you doing here? Or why are you coming out? And I was like, oh, we're going to stand here and hug. I don't know how long it was, but it was enough for both of us to stop shaking. I said, are you all right? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. I even have a text message from her that I had said, I'm really sorry, baby, that you had to deal with this. This is just so horrible. And she texted back and said, it's okay, Mom. It's the way the world is now.